everyone, good evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Darrell Winninger from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center and across the high desert. What a way to start off the work week. We had tons of sunshine, even a little bit of a warming trend. This warming trend isn't over, and we keep our sunshine through Wednesday. Now, later this week, we start to see a shift in our weather pattern. At first, a couple subtle changes, then a big shift in the pattern during the weekend. So, we're about to take a deep dive into your most reliable forecast look at what has been happening, why it's been happening this way, and what it means as we go forward through the next couple of days. Let's go ahead and start things off with what it looks like outside. We have tons of sunshine, almost not a cloud in the sky, and there is a little bit of haze, but overall we've had good air quality for most of the Tri-County area. And when we go ahead and go forward through the next couple of days, we're keeping a lot of this sunshine. But let's just, for the sake of it, go ahead and check out our air quality conditions. All of these sensors, the black circles with the green dot on top of it, those are all real-time sensors from East Space Labs, and they are a lab right here in Bend, Oregon, and they have just a network of sensors all across the Tri-County area and beyond. Both the eSpace real-time sensors and the DEQ hourly average show good air quality. And if we take it a step further and look at the purple air sensors, which these ones are a little more sensitive, so they might show something different. Most of the high desert, green or good air quality, until you get to right around Warm Springs. There's one of them just over the eye in Springs that is showing yellow or moderate air quality. So it's pretty nice, even with that haze over the Tri-County area. Now, outside of the haze, we have not a cloud in the sky. We have no rain in sight. Well, I'm not just talking about Central Oregon or the state, but when we look at the bigger picture, the entire Pacific Northwest is bone dry, and there's zero in the way of precipitation or clouds. In fact, when we look at pardon me, that shouldn't have been there. When we look at satellite shows us cloud cover, radar shows us rain. Both of them are showing super dry conditions. So when we switch it a little bit and look at our infrared satellite imagery, which instead of visible, which just pretty much takes an image of the clouds from space at the satellite, this one focuses on the clouds and what the temperature of the top cloud is. That helps us identify the taller clouds, the lower clouds. We could even see fog with this particular set of satellite imagery, but right now it's not showing much at all over the Tri-County area, the entire state, the entire Pacific Northwest. Look, under this ridge of high pressure, we are just sitting pretty, and it's only going to get nicer before shifting our weather pattern. Looking at the bigger picture of everything, you can see where this high pressure is coming from the Pacific Ocean, just ridging right up the coastline of the west coast of the U.S., and that's pretty much the only thing that's going to be in control of our weather pattern. There's another stronger ridge of high pressure further out over the Pacific Ocean, and there's a low pressure over BC, Canada, that has a cold front stretched out into the Pacific Ocean as well. Now, that cold front is going to be what changes our weather pattern, but by then another area of low pressure is going to develop along that cold front, and that is what pushes into the Pacific Northwest. So when we go ahead and just look at a different satellite imagery, this is the water vapor and pressure. So water vapor satellite imagery and pressure. The pressure is the white lines you see on there. Those are isobars, or equal constant lines of pressure. And you can see where this ridge of high pressure is building into the region. The yellow air mass, that is very dry air. The blue, the darker blue, the deep blue air mass, that is dry air, just not as dry as the yellow. And where you're starting to see the white, that's where there's a little more moisture in the cloud cover. Now, when we go ahead and zoom this out just a little bit, I want to show you something. This is pretty cool. I don't often show this off, but there's not much to talk about, so let's go ahead and do it. See these little blips in the isobars right here, where it looks like it's making a nice circle and then it dips in? That's where the actual cold front is as it slowly works its way towards the coastline. Now, it's not going to make landfall until later in the work week as a low pressure system, but ultimately we will start to see changes from that. Now, there is also a low pressure that's out over the Pacific Ocean, and look at all that dry air around it. That's not quite getting up into our neck of the woods, though. Now, when we go ahead and focus on relative humidity, we were just looking at water vapor, so the next logical thing is how dry it is outside. And with this ridge of high pressure, with this very dry air mass, that's translating to the surface, where, remember, relative humidity is the moisture content in the atmosphere relative to temperature and dew point, and we're sitting in the 20s and 30s. And this is measured in percentages, so this is dry, just not critically dry like we see during fire season. Meanwhile, maximum temperatures in the last 24 hours have been in the 60s with some 70s on the map. Right here, right now, 5:37 p.m. on this Monday, we're sitting in the 60s except for 72 in Warm Springs and 58 in Sister. So parts of many of us across the high desert sitting very nice. Some of us are a little outside of that, so a couple outliers, but overall we're running between 3 and 8 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago. So this warm up isn't done yet. Now we're getting into the forecast portion of this. Tonight we're actually going to get pretty cold. Temperatures falling back out of the 40s and into the 30s after midnight, and notice through the early morning hours we're going to be in the mid to lower 30s. That's near, and some of us getting below average, even some 20s on the map. So it's something we're going to continue to track. But tomorrow we warm up quickly. It goes from a chilly, a cold start for many of us to a pleasant day pretty quickly. By 1 p.m. we're sitting at 69 degrees. By the afternoon, 70s are expected. So with your school bus forecast, we're looking at 30s to start, some 20s on the map, 70s by the afternoon, a few 60s not out of the question, but either way, pleasantly warmer with a light breeze still under the broad ridge of high pressure that is the main focus of our forecast. And we are going to go ahead, I'm going to step back to one of the shows and pull a different graphic because that one had not been updated yet. And I'm going to go ahead and drop this one right here. Now, let's look at a forecast model that really focuses on surface temperature. And I've also taken the time to add in streamlines, wind direction at about 850 millibars, so just removed from the surface. And you can even see some surface feature products like the high pressure, the low pressure. And to top it all off, I added some words for you. So through Tuesday, we're still under the influence of this broad ridge of high pressure. The axis of the high pressure, the center of circulation, is pushed a little further off to the east, but we still have tons of sunshine. It's going to be an awesome day, especially if you dig the 70s. Now, a few 60s are going to be possible. And then fast forward, and the cold front that was offshore transitions to a low pressure. It's redeveloping, it's recycling that energy, and it's going to be pushing into the region, but not until later in the 7-day. So Wednesday, we're looking at 70s and some 60s. Slight dip in temperature, but still very nice and above average. Average high temperatures for this time of the year are 68 in Bend, 70 in Redmond, and we're going to be still sitting above that marker under the sunshine with some PM clouds and again a light breeze. By Thursday, we are talking a change up. More clouds are expected with some PM showers. Now, these showers are not going to be widespread across the entire Pacific Northwest. In fact, they're going to be due to wraparound moisture. Follow my mouse just on top of the L. That moisture is going to wrap around that low over the Pacific Ocean and come into the Pacific Northwest. Depending on the track that moisture takes, where we start to see some bands of precipitation coming out of that, we could be looking at a huge difference. Some of us just getting a few showers, many of us getting some showers, some of us just getting a few sprinkles. A lot of low confidence is expected with what we're looking at on Thursday, but there is going to be a chance of rain. There is going to be a dip in temperatures, and winds will be breezy for many of us on the high desert. So we have roller coaster temperatures. By tomorrow, we're picking up into the 70s, and that's going to be the warmest day out of the next 7. After that, with Wednesday's clouds and that low coming a little closer to the Pacific Northwest, we get a little dip in temperatures. By Thursday and Friday, some sprinkles are expected, a bigger dip in temperatures, knocking us back below average from this time of the year, going from the 70s into the 60s. Then by this weekend, wetter conditions, stronger winds, cooler temperatures expected across the high desert. So let's go ahead and time this out. Let's look at a traditional forecast model that we typically use on air, starting with the big picture. And we have this ridge of high pressure that's over the Pacific Northwest, and that's going to stay with us. So through tonight, we're looking at clear conditions, very little of the way of cloud cover at all. That's going to be perfect for stargazing, perfect if you want to bust out the telescope and take a look at the full harvest moon. It's going to be a full moon. The full moon actually happens at 8:47 p.m., so shortly after sunset, and the full moon is a moment in time, and after that we start to wane, but it's going to appear to be a full moon for another couple nights after that. Either way, gorgeous conditions for stargazing and moon gazing. However, it is going to be chilly, so grab that jacket. You might want some hand warmers if you're going to be out there for a while, or if you have a portable heater, maybe even that, depending on how you handle those cooler temperatures through the evening and colder temperatures overnight. Through Tuesday, we keep it mostly clear. Through Wednesday, we are expecting a few PM clouds, but still dry. By Wednesday night, in and out cover. Thursday, partly cloudy, mostly sunny at times, mostly cloudy at other times, some showers through parts of the Tri-County area, but not everybody. Remember, both Thursday and Friday, we're looking at this chance of showers. So let's transition to our long-range forecast model. I do not typically use this one on air, and that's because quite often, the further out you get from day zero today, the less reliable these forecast models are. Number two, this one isn't a high-resolution forecast model. The further you go out, the less resolution you get because you still have to run the model in a timely manner. And so this has lower resolution, but it goes further out. And when we go forward looking through Thursday night and Friday, some showers are going to be possible. By Saturday, wetter conditions are expected later in the day, but notice that there was a little bit of blue in there, so a little bit of a wintry mix by Friday or Saturday night and Sunday night going into Monday. Then by Monday, during the midday and afternoon hours, we start to get a little bit of clearing. So between now and Wednesday at 11 p.m., we are dry. Let's dive in, take a closer look. We start to see those showers late on Thursday, but even at that, some of us just looking at extra cloud cover. Others experiencing some drizzle or some sprinkle. A few showers are going to be possible, and it's Friday, we repeat that same pattern. So as we go forward, winds are mostly going to be a light breeze, picking up a little bit during the afternoon and evening, and today was no exception. Actual wind gusts are mostly between 10 and 20 miles per hour. Actual wind speeds are more like 2 to 12 miles per hour. So we're sitting at 2 to 12, gusting up to 20 miles per hour at this moment. And tapering winds are expected through the rest of this evening. Notice that everything to the left of this white line is observed, everything to the right is forecast. Winds weren't too crazy today. They're going to come down to a gentle breeze tonight. By tomorrow, a light breeze expected. By Wednesday, breezy at times. Remember, Wednesday's when we start to see the shift in our weather pattern. So let's recap all this for you. Tonight, we're talking 30s with some 20s, clear conditions, no rain in sight. By Tuesday, still under tons of sunshine. We are warming up. Highs are going to be in the 70s for most of the Tri-County area. And a quick look at your 7-day planner. We start to see some of those changes Wednesday and Thursday. Notice Tuesday, tomorrow, the warmest day out of the next 7, including today. We're gaining several degrees. More like 5 to 10 degrees for much of the Tri-County area. And then we start to see a gradual cool down Wednesday. By Thursday and Friday, that next system really starts to impact us. Stronger winds are expected. 60s are in the forecast. By Saturday and Sunday, 50s are in the planner. Notice overnight we go from 30s to either side of 40 degrees for a couple nights, back into 30s, and then near and below freezing during the overnight hours. That's what's leading us to the potential of some wintry mix. Snow in the mountains, cool days, colder nights expected, so enjoy the next 48 hours. Under this sunshine, we are looking at pleasantly warmer temperatures that are going to be above average for this time of the year. And so when we go ahead and look at our headlines for this Monday, October the 6th, this is almost autumn's reset. And we're looking at temperatures that are still going to be well above average for this time of the year, getting even warmer tomorrow, all of that under tons of sunshine. So it's going to be very nice before our next system, when those colder temperatures come back into play and we get that changing weather pattern starting on Thursday. So once again, there is no rain in sight. Our temperatures are in a pleasant range, and going forward, some bigger changes are expected. So one more time, let's throw a satellite up there, and it just shows we're sitting under this ridge of high pressure. That's the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News. Well, the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. The next show is going to be from 6 to 7 on CBS, and again from 7 to 8 on CBS, and then after the Monday Night Football game on ABC, we're going to be coming back. That's scheduled for 8 o'clock, but you know how sports are this time of the year. If there's overtime, we could come back on later. Nevertheless, we'll be on after the game on ABC, and then on ABC and CBS at 11 o'clock. That's it. We'll see you then. Join us.